We're continuing our conversation with Sean Riordan, disability and workers' compensation attorney, counsel to the Feel Good Foundation, and a very knowledgeable person on the Zadroga legislation from 9/11. Let's pick up where we were on the question of someone, whether it's on September 11th, October 1st, whenever, files a claim for some kind of compensation as a result of the injury. Then there's a claims evaluator under the jurisdiction of the special master that will evaluate it. What's roughly the time period that's expected in terms of getting some award evaluation back, and then from there?
Once the application is considered complete under the regulations, then the claims adjuster is mandated to make a decision within 75 days.
Okay.
So really, you'll have an award given to you within 75 days of completing your application. And then you will decide whether or not you're going to accept that award or you're going to appeal and go before the special master on an appeal.
If someone accepts it, what then would be the time period for that person to get their payment, get their award?
Sure, I believe it's 20 days thereafter.
Okay.
John. I think that once they accept that award officially, and if they don't appeal it within 30 days, then it's automatically deemed approved.
All right.
Once that is deemed approved or you accept it officially, you have 20 days before you receive your payment.
So an individual who gets an award has two options. I either accept it or I seek an appeal or a hearing on the appeal of the amount.
Correct.
Let's talk about something important. Economic loss. What does that mean within the context of Zadroga?
Well, economic loss is probably going to be one of the most important factors that we develop for compensation. It's essentially saying for those individuals that either, one, stop working, okay, and were forced to stop working because of the 9/11 related illnesses. Mm-hmm. They've lost an economic opportunity moving forward, whether it's advancement in their own careers, whether it's other economic opportunities. It's really up to your attorneys to get out exactly what you've lost as a result of your injuries. Your yearly salary is just one measure. Mm-hmm. But really, where you would advance in your career, where it would be expected that you would go, and how much you'd make over the duration of your career, mm-hmm. that really becomes, a science. Mm-hmm. There's got whole guys out there that do this for a living, mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And put this together for us. So it's a major area of litigation during this Zadroga bill.
There's a term, sounds a little legalese to me, but it's called collateral sources. So describe that to our viewers.
Sure. What I tell people is collateral source means I'm your attorney. Okay, that means that you have a workers' compensation case that's been paying you as a result of 9/11. You have a disability pension that's been paying you as a result of 9/11. You have other avenues that have paid you as a result of 9/11. The collateral source, just other avenues that have paid you as a result of your 9/11 related illnesses. Okay. And what will happen is those payments will act as an offset against whatever you get out of the Victims' Compensation Fund. And an easy way to think about offset is this. I got $10 from a payment outside of the Victims' Compensation Fund. That $10 is going to come off automatically of my Victims' Compensation Fund.
And what are some of the classifications that normally fit under collateral sources?
Social Security, disability, workers' compensation, disability pension. Those are from a municipal pension system. Mm-hmm. Long-term disability payments, short-term disability payments could all be considered collateral sources.
What is the issue with regard to an individual we spoke about before? A person was injured at the 9/11, running from the pile, as I said, something flying off a collapsing tower and so forth, but they did not file under the original Victims' Compensation Fund, but they had a physical injury. How does that work as they now want to file under Zadroga?
Well, they'll be able to. I mean, absolutely. If you have a physical injury from 9/11, you are able to file here under this newly reopened Victims' Compensation Fund. Now, if you filed previously and you had a Victims' Compensation Fund award, you can also file under the Victims' Compensation Fund now, but there's various markers that you have to meet in order to be eligible for a payment under this Victims' Compensation Fund.
Yeah, I think, as I recall, one had to do, it's got to be on the covered conditions it has to be on that list of the special master, and the condition has to most seriously deteriorated is also, I believe, a criteria for a submission now under Zadroga.
Yeah, it has to have, essentially has to have gotten substantially worse. So even if you had a previous impairment where you received payment, now we're saying, well, but that has gotten substantially worse, and we weren't aware of it at that time, that we were going to end up in this position. And that's how you get paid under the Victims' Compensation Fund now for that same injury.
There was a recent lawsuit that a number of clients participated in. If an individual participated in that lawsuit and got a settlement, a sum of money, are they still eligible to file under Zadroga? And what is the impact of, let's say someone got to pick a figure, $50,000 under the lawsuit. How does that impact on a Zadroga award?
Sure. The answer to your question is absolutely. If they were a member of that class of litigants that just settled, they can bring a Victims' Compensation Fund case, no doubt about it. Okay? It was actually a great job by Congress. They added it the last couple of weeks, and it helped get the bill across, frankly. In terms of how that settlement agreement is going to work, again, just like a collateral source, any type of payment that they receive from the settlement agreement will be deducted dollar for dollar offset of anything that they're entitled to under the Victims' Compensation Fund. So it'll just work like your Social Security disability payment, frankly. It'll just come right off the top.
Regrettably, in the pot of 9/11 individuals, there are many who have passed away and may not have filed under the original Victims' Compensation. What do they need to have in place to be able to bring something under Zadroga in terms of a representative?
For those widows or family members, children, what you really need is to have an appointed representative by the surrogate's court. If you're marching down this path and we're going to put in a new claim, I suggest you start your process right now with the surrogate's court. If you haven't already, get it as an appointed representative on the estate's behalf, and then you can act that way as a representative before the Victims' Compensation Fund.
So you got to have an executor or an administrator appointed. You got to have someone that's a human being that's representing the estate of the decedent who passed away.
That's correct.
Tax returns seem to have some significance here. Are they going to be required in terms of making a Zadroga application?
Not only required, but we'd want to put them forth. I mean, again, to establish the economic loss, but really in terms of required, you have to have the 3 years before you stop working, or if you are a deceased applicant and representing the estate of that deceased applicant, you also have to have the tax return of the year that person passed.
Since we're lawyers, we ought to talk about fees for a second. And under Zadroga, what is the maximum legal fee for an award?
The maximum legal fee that any attorney can charge you statutorily is 10%. Okay. So whatever Victims' Compensation Fund award that you receive, 10% of that is the maximum that any attorney can charge you.
One final point. Sure. Is an individual under Zadroga giving up any rights that they otherwise may have had to be part of the Zadroga program?
Yeah, it's a great point, and the answer is yes. By accepting a Victims' Compensation Fund award, you're saying, I will no longer sue any other entity. No other third party is responsible for my injuries. So you are essentially giving up all legal rights in the courts if you pursue your Victims' Compensation Fund case.
Someone's listening and viewing this and would like to be in touch with you to talk about it more, sure, or perhaps have a case, how would be the best way they'd get a hold of you?
The best way to reach me always is my cell phone, 646-831-6229, or simply shoot me an email. I'm Sean, P.J. Riordan, at nypoliceattorney.com.
Thanks very much. There was an awful lot of very good information you conveyed over these 3 segments.
Thanks, buddy.
Thank you.